The casting director thinks it's, you know, it's not very you, it's very light, you know, and I wonder what my career would have been like if I hadn't played that, you know, the character of Lila and Dexter. I think that, you know, often when you play a role like that, which is quite, you know, a lot of people have seen, or it's iconic, and you know, the audience are like, oh, I hate her, and they love to hate her. I think casting directors also kind of see that, and they, you know, they're not sure if they want you to come in for the girl next door or the sweet kind of best friend or whatever. And after I'm like, no, but honestly, I'm a really nice person underneath it all. So yeah, maybe I need to do some more convincing of that. But I always feel as though one of the reasons my baddies are good is because I don't really play them as bad characters. I play them as characters who are living from moment to moment, doing the best that they can, and often doing a really horrible job. But I think that essentially you can live your life from a place of love, or you can live your life from a place of fear. And I think that a lot of my characters live their lives from a place of fear, and I sympathise with that. I've got compassion for them for that. You know, because I've felt a lot of fear in my life, and it's horrible. But yeah, they make some pretty bad decisions, and they're some pretty bad women.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Where's your favorite place to vacation?
Oh, there's a place in Mexico I like to go, which is quite unspoiled, and it's sandy beaches, and it's like huts on the beach, and there's often no electricity, or there's no phones in the bedroom or refrigerators or anything. It's very basic, but it's a really interesting bunch of people, and it kind of feels like you're connected with nature, and it's called Tulum. It's in Mexico. Yeah. Hi. Sorry, Princess Leia. Are you Princess Leia? Did someone back to you in your buns?
Hi, I'm Kelly.
Hi.
I actually kind of had a more general question, like behind the scenes-ish. You've been on a few sci-fi things now. Is there such thing as like a science consultant to make sure that it's as accurate as possible, so you don't piss off scientists in your game audience?
So you don't mean science fiction based, you mean like scientific?
Right.
Well, what have I been in that's scientific?
Well, or like using science that exists to explain things in science fiction.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there are a lot of people who are much smarter than me, kind of working all that stuff out. But every now and then I will be like, well, hold on a minute, that doesn't really make sense, because last episode, whatever, and then, you know, another actor will be like, for God's sake, Jaime, don't pull the string, otherwise the whole pullover will come apart. So sometimes you feel like you're skating on some pretty thin ice, and at the beginning I'd always be like, but that doesn't make sense, and then towards the end of working in sci-fi for a while, I'd be like, but I always say to the producers and the directors, I'm like, guys, you've got to get it right, because the sci-fi fans, they know this stuff much better than you do, and they will notice.
You're not wrong.
So there's some pretty smart people out there. I mean, obviously it's drama, so you're thinking what might be probable and then taking it to the next level, but it's usually based on stuff that might happen.
I'm Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, welcome H.G. Wells. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My question for you is, what Shakespearean character would you most like to play and why?
Well, I think the easiest one for me to play would be Lady Macbeth. I
thought that might be your quick answer, but give me the one
I've
you
been
really want.
rehearsing that one for a while, that role. It might be my real answer as well. I find some of the romantic heroines a bit boring, really. I mean, maybe I'd like to play Hamlet. Would that be okay?
Hamlet? Absolutely.
I don't want to be like, like half of them kind of get killed horribly and kind of because of some tragic male accident. So yeah, maybe I'd take on a male role. And
Sarah Bernhardt played Hamlet. You could do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's not much to live up to, is it? Pressure. Good question, thank you.
Hello, my name is Kat.
Hello, Kat.
My question is my new favorite question for people with lovely resumes in the sci-fi fantasy world. If you could be one of your characters in this reality and you got to keep all of their perks and quirks, which one would you choose to live as today? But then, on the flip side, if you had to be you in one of your realities that you've acted in, which one would you choose to live in?
Wow, it's kind of mind-boggling and complicated, but good too. So, what powers really?
Yeah, if you have powers, you get to keep them living in our reality.
I mean, I didn't really have any powers. I remember in Defiance, I was like, at the beginning of Defiance, I was like, Kevin was a producer and writer and showrunner. I was like, Kevin, like, can't she just like make shit happen with her eyes? I mean, she's an alien. Like, why is she so similar to humans? Like, can't she just be like, and like mind control? And he'd be like, no. It's weird. Like, why would she have the same powers as us?
Like, I'm not sure Darth Vader would do well if he like suddenly walked through our worlds. You know, like a character that you thought would really could come in and just take over our reality, and that'd be really fun to do.
Well, I mean, really it's between HG and Stammer then, isn't it? I mean, Lila was just batty. I mean, she'd be kind of fun for a night. But Gaia was fun and amazing, but she didn't really have any powers, did she? Yeah, I suppose it's got. I suppose it's got to be H.G. Wells then, because she's just so smart and she knows so much more than I do. You know, as long as we kind of put her in some therapy just to get rid of some of her issues, I think she'd translate quite well. Maybe give her a few kind of MacBook lessons. She'd be okay. I think that if I went back, I mean, you don't really want to go back to Defiance, do you? I mean, it's a hard, hard place to live.
That's why it's a tricky question. Because usually all these worlds aren't really places you want to go live there.
I mean, if I was just like wanted a difference, maybe ancient Rome would be fun. If I was rich. But then I'm a woman, so not really. I mean, maybe Lila from Dexter. I mean, at least she's in Miami. It's sunny. Or I was in a TV show called Hustle, London, which is based in London, and she was a con artist. So she had some skills too. But no, I think H.G. Wells.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you, good question.
Hi, my name is Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Nice to meet you. I first of all wanted to thank you as I work somewhat back and forth behind the scenes in the movie and theater industry. It's nice to see a strong woman be successful.
Oh,
thank you for that. The second question I have for you, since I knew you kind of studied history, what would you cosplay in history? Because some famous movie stars go out into conventions to try to hide by cosplaying.
Oh yeah.
So what would you cosplay to hide? Now, you reveal it now and we'll all be looking for it, but, you know, what would you do if you could? Because you wear a lot of makeup usually.
Yeah, in history.
Out of history, or your favorite fanboy or girl flavor?
Oh, what do you, I'm so confused. So somebody I've seen.
Well, if you were to go out into this convention and not want to be recognized, what costume would you wear? You're obviously
It'd be kind of smart to go as Stammer, wouldn't it? That would really mess with people's minds.
I'm sure there would be a wig involved. But you wear a lot of makeup in your roles, and I was just wondering if that was some way you...
I like steampunk. I do like steampunk a lot. Yeah, I do. I actually go to this festival called Burning Man.
Been there.
And I wear, like, I buy a lot of, I don't want to share this with you really, because otherwise I won't be able to get them for a good price on eBay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I buy old, like, vintage marching band jackets. Oh, yeah. And then often I'll, like, cut them up or, like, stick things on them, or like add loads of buttons, and I'll make them look like the jacket that.
Distressing, as they think.
Yeah, distressing, but also making really amazing too. They're like Jimi Hendrix, you know, with all the buttons, and even like one of them. I might have a picture I can show you later. I sewed on all this gold braid and.
Wow, so you got math skills.
Yeah, they're pretty good. And I make these like headdresses and top hats and stuff. I like stuff like that. But yeah, if I went out amongst you guys, I might wear some sort of face gear as well, just because.
So maybe a gas mask or an actual
gas
face
mask.
mask.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Some fishnets.
Well, I hope you get to go out there and enjoy that.
Thank you.
See you later.
Hi, hello. Just checking. Small person over there.
Yeah.
What's your name?
My name's Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
My question is, first of all, Stama with mind powers, oh my gosh, bad.
Well, she almost had them, didn't she?
Well, she was certainly manipulative, right? Could you imagine if she could really influence people? That'd be horrible. But I had a question about H.G. Wells. I thought in the last, we saw Eddie and Saul at Comic-Con 2 years ago, and they were like, oh, our set's so much fun and everything happening and whatever. Do you have a funny story from Warehouse 13 that you enjoyed?
I don't have a particular story. I mean, other than Eddie farting a lot. But that wasn't really funny at the time. It's like funny if you tell people afterwards. I mean, Joanne and I would kind of like, when you do green screen, like you start to like lose your mind, and everything on green screen is special effect. And because, you know, on a location, it's really all about budget, money. So you move from one location to another on a cost basis. So you're often shooting out of sequence. And so by the time you get to green screen, it's like you've got to do all the special effect at one time. And when you do special effect, you realize how you run into problems a lot. Like you're like, oh yeah, this scene is this big on the page. And then you start filming it and like it's not working, and they have to bring a different camera in or change it or redo the whole thing or paint the ceiling or like whatever it is. And so your scheduled time goes over, and when you're filming, you basically have to go until you're finished. So sometimes on Warehouse 13, we shot 24 hours one time. And then what happens is, that's Thursday, you're still gonna come back the next day for work. So there's like a period of time in your contract, just so that they can't actually kill you, a period of time where you have to be allowed to leave set and sleep. And then you come back for work. But because you've gone into such overtime, by the time you come back, you're coming back at like 5 o'clock in the evening to start filming the next day. And then you shoot all through the night into the next day. And by the time you've done all that,